And we are back. It's the Casual GM Podcast, episode 29, I believe. We're zeroing in on 30. I am your host, Drew. Alongside me, as always, my co-host, Mike. Mike, how are you?
Just as handsome as ever.
We've switched sides of the screen today.
We have.
As I started the podcast tonight, as you had a brief errand to run. So, but you made it back, and we're on the wrong side of the screen. So everything else should be the same. So,
you know what's not the same?
What's that?
The Lions were on the right side of a blowout this week.
Yeah. So I'm very happy. I suppose is the best way to say it, but I feel like this last couple of weeks, like the Lions season has been kind of like re-summarized in microcosm. So, they start out 1-6. Everyone's starting to get antsy.
Fire all of them, right?
Yeah, Aaron Glenn, Dan Campbell. These are the problems, right? These are the reasons why we can't win football games.
Yeah, and Hutch was a bag pick. He was a bust already, and
there's Shannon. Evening Shannon. And and so there of course, like, we're not winning, right? So the problem is we need to make wholesale changes to the direction of the franchise so that we can win in the short term, right?
Right.
Okay. So then they fire Aubrey Pleasant. They trade TJ Hawkinson. They go 4-5 over their next 5 games. Team certainly looks like they were improving.
Yeah.
Looks like they were playing better in the secondary. And hard to argue that Hutch has really been, or not Hutch, Hawkinson has really been missed. So, I mean, I think the beneficiary to Hawkinson being gone is Amon-Ra St. Brown.
And Chark.
Yeah. Well, he had one game. I mean,
he's had a
good game.
I think he's had more looks. They just didn't. He was pretty well covered, and he didn't get the catches.
Yeah, I'm not much of a DJ Chark guy, I guess. Like, I have no problem with him as, say, like a football player or a person. But, like, as far as, like, when I'm weighing, like, his contribution to this team this season, I'm not overly blown away. So he has played in weeks 1, 2, and 3, and then 11, 12, and 13. Of course, the bye week was in there as well. Week 11, he only played 11 snaps. He's played 285 snaps on the season so far. I'm not in love with it. He's got 14 catches for 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a drop.
Now, what's up, Zeka? Crimson? Welcome.
Oh, no way. Everybody's coming up.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Shannon brought all of her friends.
She sure did. But, like, I mean, I think that if it was Josh Reynolds out there and not DJ Chark, I don't know that you would see much of a difference. So,
yeah.
But he had a great game against Jacksonville, right? So everyone's like, oh, he's arrived. Just happens to be in week 13 or whatever it was. So
it was kind of the way Goff did last year, right? We went 0-11, and then finally he arrived. We finally got that win. He played pretty well the last few games of last season.
Yep. He's been to a Super Bowl.
He has. That is a factual statement.
Yeah, can't argue with that one. And that is apparently supposed to be the end all be all of whether or not he should be the future at the position in Detroit. So let's talk about the game. So it starts off well. Lions force a turnover.
Yep.
So in the games that they have won, going 4-5 here over the last 5 weeks, they have won the turnover battle decisively, and they have been penalized less than their opponents, and that's held true here today. So they got I think there was one turnover in the game, and the Lions got it, and they were penalized once. So Jacksonville, I mean, it's not a drastic turnaround, but like they had one turnover and they were penalized 4 or 5 times, and like the difference was like 40 or 50 yards, I think, in penalty yards. But like you can't make those mistakes, right? So usually the team with the fewer mistakes wins. Detroit jumped all over them, kept it on them, beat the shit out of them, 26 points. So
honestly, it was never close.
Right. So it just looked like the Lions this year so far have looked good at times and kept it close with a lot of teams, looked bad at times, Dallas and the New England games, and then played the Bills to a standstill.
Yeah.
And then beat a team that was roughly equivalent, I think, to what they are, record-wise at least, and you could say about the same spot in their rebuild. It's the holiday season, Funky. We don't hold that against you.
Yeah, but we're just happy that you're here.
Yeah.
Now you need to tell others to join you. That's the trick next, right?
I suppose we can gather the whole family around, I suppose. But yeah, they crushed a team that they were considered to be about the same as. They played a team that everyone considers to be better than them, including me, to a standstill where Josh Allen had to pull a rabbit out of his hat with 23 seconds, to go in the game, and he put them in a position to win, and they took advantage of it. But, I'm ready to say that the Detroit is better than their record indicates. And that's probably something a lot of people have been saying.
Yeah.
For a good
I was
chunk
talking
of the
to my
season.
dad about that same thing.
Right.
We're going to be playing Minnesota this weekend. And, Zaka mentions Vikings getting disrespected. The Lions are 2.5-point favorites against a team with 5 more wins. That's crazy.
It is weird.
That is. Is that game in prime time? Because maybe that would explain it with primetime cousins versus non-primetime cousins. But the other thing I thought was interesting was after that, we've got the New York Jets. And I think we're the opposite of the Jets. I think they are not as good as their record indicates. And I think we are better than our record indicates. What are your thoughts on that?
I think they are exactly what their record indicates.
You think they're that good?
I think there are parts of their team that are that good. I think that just like the Vikings, a lot of people are like, well, they're pretenders, right? Like they're the worst 10-2 team ever. Well, no, not really. I mean, like they're 4-0 against the AFC East. I mean, Detroit did not beat Buffalo, did not beat Miami, got blown out by New England, and still has to play the Jets, right?
Right.
So Minnesota won all those games. Like that's legit. I mean, they have legit players, they have some elite players, and mostly Justin Jefferson.
No, I'm talking about the Jets.
I understand.
Oh, okay.
But the Jets to me are a bit of a surprise because I do feel like what with the quarterback change and losing their rookie running back, Breece Hall, and the kind of some of the contention with like Elijah Moore and even Garrett Wilson at times, it does seem to me like they're overcoming, whether that's their own drama or something, but I think that I don't think that you should look past them.
No, at the same time, I think we're going to match up favorably to them. Even though our records are quite a bit different.
What kind of team do you think Detroit does not match up favorably with?
I think we're going to struggle against Minnesota because I think Justin Jefferson is the best wide receiver in the game. And I think any team that has multiple quality receiving targets and a decent quarterback is a tough matchup for us. I think they've got that. I'm not worried about the Jets. Their quarterbacks are mediocre. I don't even know who their wide receivers are. They're so good.
I know who their wide receivers are.
Who do they have out there? They have Traylon Burks? No. Yeah. Who do they have out there?
Tennessee.
That's Tennessee. Yeah. Who do they got?
So they had the number 10 pick in the draft, Garrett Wilson. They have Elijah Moore, and is it Corey Davis? Formerly of the Tennessee Titans, I believe, right?
Is he a former Western?
Yeah, I think so.
So,
but like not
a bunch
bad.
of Josh Reynolds. Gotcha.
No, not they're better than every one of those players is better than Josh Reynolds.
Not a ton though. I mean, none of them.
Go see what Garrett Wilson did last week, and then tell me if Josh Wilson is.
Garrett Wilson. He was he's a rookie, right?
He is a rookie.
Second year guy. Yeah, a rookie. That's what I thought. Yeah, he's got some potential.
Yeah. So like, but that's exactly what I'm talking about. Is that like I think that like when people look at the Jets and they go through like their roster and it's like, oh, you have this guy playing right guard, and this is your running back, and this is who your number one wide receiver is, and oh, you have who playing at quarterback, and where's your edge rusher? Like, oh, I've heard of Sauce Gardner. Like, what about your linebacking core looks like trash? Like, I think that when you go through and you look at the roster like that, it's very easy to say this team's not very good. But when you watch them play, maybe outside of the New England game, they're clearly a scrappy, plucky, work hard, outwork your opponent, come up with a big play here or there kind of team. Sounds a lot like Detroit to me. I mean, like,
yeah.
Plus, I believe we go to their hometown. We're at the Jets.
I think so.
We don't have too many road games left, I don't believe.
We are home against Minnesota, at New York, at Carolina, home against Chicago. At 3 of the last 5 are on the road. Carolina and Chicago are both not good teams. Green Bay has not proven to be a very good team. So it really kind of leaves Minnesota and New York as the tougher games. And honestly, I'm not worried. You don't ever look beyond an opponent because any given Sunday and all that. But I'm not super worried about New York. I think Minnesota is going to be the tougher game.
Well, I do think Minnesota will be the tougher game, but like to me, they are playing effectively the same kind of team every week from this point to the end of the season, which is like, this team is not their record. What are they really good at? And I mean, the thing that I think Detroit's going to bank on is the thing that they banked on since they started, like they went 3-3-1 at the last half of last year, was go out there, work hard, don't make as many mistakes, give yourself an opportunity to win. So, I mean, like that's always going to be their MO. And like, I think that's what's kept them in every game this year, save New England, save Dallas. But I think that if the NFL was as predictable as what I think how we're looking at the end of the season for the Lions right now, the whole landscape would look quite different at this point, and it looks like anything other than what people would have predicted. So the problem is that you got to go out and play all these games. So I think that from what we saw in the first matchup between the Vikings and the Lions this year was that they played them tough, lost a close one, right? Can that get reversed? Right now we're at home. So how much does that matter? So the odds would tell you that like having home field advantage is a big deal in sports. So I could see them winning by a field goal in this game, but I bet it's close. I mean, I bet it's closer than what Jacksonville was. Like, to me, Kirk Cousins is a better version of Jared Goff.
No, totally agree.
So, and to me, like, as much as I love Amon-Ra St. Brown, if it was like, we'll trade you Justin Jefferson for Amon-Ra St. Brown, I would make that trade every time.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, and you wouldn't think twice.
Right. So, like,
you're like, wait a minute. Is he hurt? Is he dying? Like, why would you do that?
Why would you trade? But like, so to me, like they're very similar teams, and I think they have better talent at like key positions. So I think that I think that like having the Lions be favored, considering how they've been playing lately, having it be at home, considering the last matchup, I'm not really surprised they're getting like 1 or 2 points, but that's a push. Like anything under 3 points is like a push. Like you're not going to win by safety. Like you're not going to win by. I mean, someone would have to miss an extra point or kick 2 field goals instead of getting 1 touchdown, something like that. So I don't know. I think that it's going to be extremely close.
Yeah, I agree. So this question goes for you, Drew, as well as the chat. What was the most surprising thing from this game, other than the final score being kind of a blowout? And I mean, I think a lot of people predicted us to win, but not necessarily by almost 30 points. So, like, what was the most surprising thing to you?
To me, the most surprising thing was just the consistency in play in all 3 phases over the entirety of the game. So they didn't punt once.
Yeah.
Like great.
Yeah, but Jack Fox earned his pay because he had a bunch of kickoffs.
He did. Good job. Thanks, Jack. It's going to be worth paying you $3.75 million next year. But like, when they got the ball, they scored, and like, not all of them were touchdowns, but like they took it. They didn't go for it on 4th down, I don't believe, once in the entire game, which I thought was a good sign because they didn't have to.
Yeah.
And, it wasn't like, well, we're going to try and extend this drive by, trying to convert on 4th down, from 4th and 1 from like our 40 or something like that. So it tells me that they were just good, solid on offense. Like St. Brown had like 11 catches, a career high for him. Like Swift and Williams split about the same amount of carries. I like that workload a lot better than what we had seen in previous weeks. They used Jameson Williams a couple of times as a decoy, which I thought was cute. And, but they were just, Goff played a really good game. It's the best game of the season that I've seen him play, and so, I mean, like credit, he earned the credit this week. Like I don't think that he's the future, but like, I think that he played a really good game this week, both eye test and stat wise. And I think this was his highest graded game of the year from PFF. So kind of all second highest. What was the first highest?
Miami.
Really interesting. So, I just thought that they were super consistent. It's good to see. Like Jacksonville, what I guess I was more surprised about was Jacksonville didn't challenge them at all.
Yeah.
In anything.
I think for me, the biggest surprise was how well our defense played as a whole. We always seem to just let up and have multiple bad series. We only let them on essentially one long scoring drive, and that was to open the second half. And I thought our defense played really, really well, very strong the entire game, kind of start to finish without any just major blunders. We'll have a nice, a couple good series, then all of a sudden we'll have a blown coverage and someone gets open for a 40-yard pass where nobody's, near them. And we didn't have that. I thought our rookies did really well. Hutch got another sack. He's leading the rookies in sacks. Houston, in his second game, gets yet another sack. He is now second most rookie sacks. He's played 2 games and he's second most sacks for rookies. You're like, what?
I don't think he's played 20 snaps all season.
Right? Yeah. So, like, I thought he played really well. Rodriguez played well again. I think our rookie class and basically the Holmes draft classes have played really well. Each of the last several games. And I think that's a big reason why we're taking big leaps, because when you first get into the league, everything's a learning experience. And I think a lot of times your trajectory goes up a lot and then you plateau because there's only so much you can learn. You're always learning, but but you're not learning at such a steep curve. And I think because our guys are so young, we are doing a lot of on-the-job learning, and they're killing it. And I think that's a big reason as to why we've won 4 of our last 5 games. And I gotta say, man, if I'm looking at that schedule, I think we can win 4 of the next 5 games. And now all of a sudden you're like, shit, are we in the playoffs?
Yeah, so like I don't think that does anything for Detroit.
Well, so if you think about it, if we get into the playoffs, we've won essentially 4 of our last 5. And before that, we won 4 of our last 5. We won 8 of our last 10. There will not be a hotter team going into the playoffs.
Sure. So let me ask you this. Let's just do it real quick. So like, let's say it's Philadelphia, Minnesota, someone wins the NFC South. And like, who is it? San Francisco coming out of the West?
Probably.
Okay. So that's 4 teams, right? So then there's 3 other teams that get to make the playoffs. So let's just take a real quick look at who that is. So you have Washington, New York, and Dallas, I believe, all have 7 or 8 wins. Probably no one else from the South, and the Seahawks, right? So Detroit has to effectively get in front of 2 of those teams.
Right.
So with the tie that both Washington and New York had this week, which I think I can't believe there are ties. That's going to make it really tough for a team like Detroit to get into the playoffs because you have to catch up to their win total and surpass it.
Yeah.
In order to get in. And both of those teams are in front of you. Now you beat both of them, but if your record's not as good as theirs, it doesn't matter. I mean, if you're the same, then you get the tiebreaker. But like, I think it's going to be tough for Detroit to make the playoffs this year. And like, even if they do, you're going to have to go on the road. So do you like the chances of like Jared Goff going into Philadelphia again? Or like let's say they get the bye. So like, do you think that going to San Francisco, or whatever? I mean, like, I think that the Lions can hang with anybody in the NFC.
Yeah. So think about San Francisco. They just lost their quarterback. Both of their quarterbacks are out. They're starting a third stringer. They did not get Baker Mayfield. They did not win the Baker Mayfield sweepstakes. LA won that by being higher on the waiver wire.
Congrats.
So yeah, I don't think I would be super worried about the Niners, to be honest.
Sure. I'm like, I guess, like, so here's my opinion. Like I don't think the Lions are done rebuilding.
Oh no, I 100% agree to that.
And every time that they get a win, it degrades their draft picks in every single round. So like, I don't understand this year being happy about getting into the playoffs as like the 7th seed and then like getting bounced out and having like the 20th pick in every round when the rebuild's not done.
So the thing is, once you're in the playoffs, literally anything can happen. Look at the Giants, right? Both of their Super Bowls, they came in as the 8th seed.
Sure.
Both of their Super Bowls, they were one of the hottest teams at the end of the season just to get in. They were essentially playing playoff football to get into the playoffs. You have to be at your best because they had to win out, more or less. They were super hot. They were playing their best football, and you go into that playing your best football. That's not a terrible, recipe for success. Now, granted, that doesn't mean you're going to win that first game or the second or the third, because you got to go 4 games, right? When you're wild carded in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not necessarily guaranteeing anything, but there isn't a team in the NFC that would be excited to play us.
I'm sure they're not, but like, I don't know. Like, this feels like the best way to get back to just being mediocre to me.
Well, Zayko says, "Hey, we're going to be a top 5 pick regardless."
Yeah, once. So like, yeah, you get a top 5 player maybe. So let's talk about that. Oh, so welcome Jalen Carter. Right now they have the 4th pick in the draft, maybe the 5th pick in the draft.
Right now,
So like right now, Houston, if it goes like this, Houston goes Bryce Young.
mm-hmm.
Chicago will probably either take Will Anderson or trade the pick to get a quarterback. So let's say it's Will Anderson. How does Seattle not take Jalen Carter? And then you are there with the choice between CJ Stroud and everybody else at the 4th pick. Great.
I mean, Stroud's not a bad deal.
Yeah, he is a more accurate version of Jared Goff. Like my skirt is not blown up whatsoever by CJ Stroud. So like we already have
CJ
CJ
kind
Stroud.
of a trap pick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like if the Lions are not in a position to either draft Bryce Young or get one of those 2 elite defensive players, I don't give a shit what that draft pick is. Because you're not getting top tier talent.
That's looking for a quarterback if Stroud's still on the board then, right?
Yeah, I trust Brad Holmes, Zakwa, but like trusting Brad Holmes is still saying like, so are you going to give Brad Holmes worse ingredients to fix the team just cuz? I mean, like,
Funky. You're killing
that's I mean, that doesn't do anything for me. Like, I would rather give Brad Holmes better picks. That's just me. I mean, like, giving him better ammunition to make the team better, given what he has already done, makes more sense than like, oh, cool, let's get to the playoffs a year ahead of schedule, and like, sure, we'll have a puncher's chance at what? The 2nd round? Neat. Like, that'll mean a lot to a lot of Lions fans, I suppose. But like, I don't want to have to pick in the bottom 2/3 of the rest of the draft because we got to dip our toe into the playoff picture a year before we were ready to do anything.
Yeah, I look at the teams in the NFC right now we are the 9th ranked team, so we are just out of the top 8. The Buccaneers, I wouldn't be afraid to play them. Commanders, Seattle, the Giants, I wouldn't be afraid to play again. The Niners, I wouldn't be super excited about playing the Eagles or the Cowboys again.
Right.
And I'll tell you after Sunday whether I'd like to see Vikings again. Like, right. I don't most of the NFC, it's pretty weak this year.
It's pretty equal this year.
Yes, it's very parity, right?
Right.
So that, I mean, to me, that says we have a puncher's chance, as you say, or more than that, honestly, of winning more than we can win our first game playoff game since 1991.
Neat. What does that matter?
That means we get a chance to win our 2nd playoff game.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the kind of stuff that I never understood about like sports. It's like, wow, they haven't won a playoff game in 30 years and they have a chance to do it. Okay, what? So what?
But if we
like, you're going to get to the 2nd round of the playoffs and then have to play Dallas or Philadelphia or a team that outclasses you in some way, shape, or form. Or like, I mean, name a game this year Jared Goff like went out and just was like, put it on my shoulders, we're just going to go win. I mean, like,
well, he hasn't had to just put it on his shoulders.
I don't think that he can.
Well, maybe not.
You know, and like, we're talking about the playoffs here. You know?
I agree. I don't think he's a guy.
Jared Goff is going to be,
yeah,
you know, however many teams in a row.
But I think the reality is you can't win a Super Bowl without getting to the playoffs.
Sure.
If you get to the playoffs, you can win a Super Bowl.
Yes.
It's a thing that can happen. In fact, it's the only way. Like,
yes,
why would you go, you know what?
No one who's never made the playoffs won a Super Bowl, right?
That's true. 100% of the people that won the Super Bowl made the playoffs to get there.
That's, yeah.
So,
indisputable fact.
Indisputable fact. So, like, just getting to the playoffs means you have a shot.
Right.
If you're like, well, I don't want to ever get to the playoffs until I know we can win it, you will never get to the playoffs.
No, not that until we know we can win it.
Every chance you can.
So do you want to have like Will Harris matched up on Deebo Samuel or Brandon Ayuk or CeeDee Lamb or one of these other guys? I mean, like, I don't want to wait until we know we can win it. I would like to wait until I know that we like have the ability to go toe to toe with some of these teams in a little bit better manner.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we're good enough to go toe to toe against any. We almost beat Buffalo. We should have, right? There was one third.
Well, they were tied. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was that 3rd and 1. It was a short throw by Goff
To Chark.
To Chark. Yep.
Right.
So like we were essentially that one throw, which granted was but my point is they were one of, if not the leading candidate to be a Super Bowl, and we almost beat them. We could have beat them. We were one play away from beating them.
Yeah, so like to me that's the difference. Like this team needs to get better so that one play either never has a chance to beat you or you are capable of making it. And they're not right now.
I would rather have a chance at a Super Bowl than draft 3 positions higher.
It's not a chance at a Super Bowl. It's like the chaperone who gets to go to the prom or whatever. Like it's like, I guess I'm here, but I'm not really participating in it. Because like there's no way they're going to run through
that they can win the Super Bowl.
They're not going to run through the 3 best teams or 3 teams, playoff teams in the NFL, in the NFC, and then miraculously beat whoever comes out of the AFC. That would be the most unbelievable. Some schmo put $5,000 on that opportunity before the season started, and he'll win, I don't know, $1.4 million or whatever because of it or whatever. But like, I want to win a Super Bowl too, right? But I want to have an opportunity to win a Super Bowl, in 2024, 2025, 2026, 2027, and not because the NFC is at parity. It's because we're better than them. And the way that you become better than them is you acquire better talent. So you need to go get that talent first.
So I'm curious what Funky and Zakwa and Crimson, what you guys think. Would you rather get in the playoffs where anything can happen, could go on a miracle run? You could do what the Giants did, where they had to win out, ended up having to go up against the undefeated New England Patriots.
Hey totally Mike, could you put your choice in any more profitable terms for you? Any more uplifting?
You're like, there's no way we would be able to do all those things and then miracle beat the AFC, whatever. But that literally happened to the Giants, not just once, but twice. They came in as an 8 seed and walked right through.
Those teams were complete teams who were not in the middle of a rebuild. They had an established NFL quarterback. They had maybe one of the greatest pass rushing units in the NFL, especially in that season. And they had legit talent up and down their roster. That's not the Detroit Lions right now.
If they were that good, then why did they just barely sneak in and back into those playoff runs?
Because playing in the NFL is not like, well, you're a Madden rating of an 89 team, so you're going to probably beat whoever's rated less than you. You have to go out and play the games. It's the reason that like injuries factor in and all this other shit.
That's where I'm like, we can do that too. Right?
No one's talking about tanking. I'm just saying that winning doesn't help this team get better in the long term. And like, so this is the problem is like, the coaching staff and the players aren't going to play any worse, because they want to lose games or whatever. But like, this is the problem that the Detroit Lions have had all through the Matthew Stafford era. Is it's like you got to a point where you were just good enough to make the playoffs, maybe. And you never got any better. And the reason you never got any better is that you never had the opportunity to go out and acquire elite talent.
Oh, they did. They just fumbled it.
Right. So now we have an opportunity to get elite talent. And we have a guy who can recognize it. And so the goal is like, well, let's rush and get there. And so that way we can be back in mediocrity even faster.
That's obviously not why you do that, right? You're not doing that just so you can get to mediocrity faster. You do it because it gives you a chance. That's the only way. That's kind of where I stand is I would rather have a chance than not have a chance.
Yeah. So the problem is that in my opinion, like they don't have a chance and you don't recognize it. Like the actual chance the Detroit Lions have to win the Super Bowl, which is what you're arguing, is ridiculously small.
As it is for
and I would rather improve those odds before they make an all-out push to get there.
Your odds of winning the Super Bowl are small, even for almost every team that makes the playoffs, unless you're a division winner.
Well, fantastic then. I can't wait for them to get bounced in the first round, because somebody decided that they were going to come out and play their A game that day, and they ended up having to play Dallas or Minnesota again. And it's like, oh, well, we got bounced. Well, you plucky sons of bitches. Awesome. Well, we made it. Well, now we're picking 20th in every single round.
Instead of 16th, right? I mean.
Yes, Mike, it's a difference of 5 spots in every single round that they have a draft pick.
I get that. And it's not just the first round, it's all the rounds. But the difference between.
They have not won a playoff game in 30 years. What's 31? If it means that they're going to be better set up to do it for the next 10 or 5 or 12.
We should just lose all of them. Every year we'll always get number 1 draft picks, and then eventually we'll have all of them there, and then we can win. Then they'll hand us the Super Bowl because we'll have so many high draft picks that they'll just.
What's the other way then, Mike? To just like, hey, we'll just go out there and like we'll write ourselves a Disney movie. And because like we're the stars of the movie, everything's going to work out for us. Maybe we can get Denzel Washington to coach the team, huh? That'd really help the chances. The way that you win in the NFL is you get better players.
No, I get that.
Better players on cheaper contracts. And the way that you do that is in the draft. And so, yeah, no, I'm not saying you have to do it for the next 10, 15, or 20 years, but they didn't do it. They didn't go out and do it for like, let's just check, my lifetime. So why don't we do something different this time and go and try and do that first before everyone puts all their hopes and their dreams and their expectations as Lions fans once again on the fact that like, oh, we can make a deep playoff run because we're 4 out of our last 5.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'm not rooting for them to win. I'm not rooting for them to lose football games. But what I am saying is what they are doing on the field is going to make this whole process take longer because they will have lesser choices in this upcoming class. And then then it's another 12 months before you get another chance to get better. So, I mean, what do you want? I mean, if you want to come out of this draft class with CJ Stroud and and Noah Sewell in the first round, and people can go out there and root for Sewell because he's the brother of one of our better players, then that's fine. We can sell jerseys and win 2 more games next year.
Yeah, that didn't work out well for us last time we did the whole brother thing.
I don't know. Seems like we're rooting for a lot of things that we've been doing the last couple, however many times on this podcast tonight.
We've been doing a lot of losing. I'd like to stop doing that.
Sure. So then the way to do that is to get through the rebuilding process.
The rebuilding process isn't done until you have.
So what you're arguing for right now is that the process is over. Let's go for it.
Oh no, 100% not. What I'm arguing for right now is I would rather have a chance. I would trade back from pick 15 to pick 20 for the chance at a Super Bowl.
Yeah. So a 1 in a million. So to do that for a 1 in a million chance to me is like, you've just won $1,000 on this lottery ticket. If you can turn it back in and go for another ticket, but you could win twice as much.
If it was 1 in a million, I'd agree. I'd take the 15, but it's not. We know it's not 1 in a million.
I mean, it might as well be. I mean, what is the difference between I know the answer is going to be the number that I'm going to put here and the difference, but if it's 1 in 1,000, is that really any different?
I don't think it's even that.
I do. I mean, we saw, we kept it close against Buffalo, but what Buffalo demonstrated in their win over us on Thanksgiving is that they have a different gear that they can go to when oh shit, time's up. We need to go right now. in order to get this. And they threw their star quarterback through to their star wide receiver to set them up in one play, 40 yards in one play when they had to have it. And here's what I saw is the series before that, when we needed a play to convert to try and go and get a touchdown to win that game, our quarterback couldn't make that throw. So our mediocre-ass quarterback that we're paying 3 times too much couldn't get it to the wide receiver who hasn't done dick all season, who was our big offseason acquisition. That's what I saw. And I was still proud of them for playing them tough, but they lost that game. And they lost that game because they had worse players.
So if he made that throw, we win that game, would you be like, hell, we could beat anybody? Playoffs because anything could happen? Or would you be like, yeah, I still don't think so?
So I don't deal in what ifs. So I don't think that way. So like I think about what did happen. And what did happen was DJ Chark beat that cornerback and Jared Goff could not get to him the ball that would have won that game.
Right.
And then they had to settle for an attempt at a tie, which they converted. Congrats. Okay, we're going to go and we're going to play for overtime. I would have made that same call in that situation.
Yeah.
But then you give the ball back to Josh Allen and he beat you in one play. And then all they had to do was
what I was talking earlier about. There's always that one play. There's a broken play that kind of costs us. And that cost us that game.
Yeah, but it wasn't a broken play. It was like, no, Zakwa, I'm not saying that they need to go out there and lose games. What I am saying is like this mentality that whether fans or media personality or writers or whoever it is that it's like Detroit's 4 of their last 5. And because there's parity in the NFC, we got to push for a playoff spot because that means what? What is I don't care about making the playoffs unless you have a realistic chance to make the Super Bowl, which I don't feel that the Detroit Lions do this year. So I don't see what the point is when you can have a better opportunity at getting, to this point next year. I just think that everybody's a year ahead on their expectations for this team. So like, I don't think that Dan Campbell is going to say, I talked with Brad and we made the decision that we're going to sit Amon-Ra St. Brown for his last 2 games. Right. Or Penei Sewell needs to sit down so we can develop the fun guy from Hard Knocks who's on our practice squad. Like that's not going to happen. Right. But like the mentality that this is the best thing for the team to me is completely wrong. I mean, I think the best argument that anybody could have would be, going into next year, you might have some experience like closing out games or what the playoff atmosphere feels like or something like that. But I'm like, like quantify it for me. You can't, because no one can quantify like what it means to go through the crucible or what have you. What I want for them to be able to do is when they're presented with the opportunity to like win a playoff game on the road, which is probably what they're going to have to do when they finally do make the playoffs, or make a deep playoff push, or try and win a Super Bowl, is that they have a realistic opportunity to do that. I don't see how it's possible with Jared Goff as the quarterback of this team. I don't see how it's possible when your 2 starting cornerbacks are Jeff Okudah, who's played well, and then no one else behind him. Yeah. I don't see how it's possible when Tracy Walker got hurt and you're starting like 3 or 4 rookies on defense. I don't see any of that stuff. Like if DeAndre Swift was still playing like he did the first 3 games of the season, maybe because you'd have a real weapon that's capable of going out there and beating people. Right. But like this team is not a team where it's like, boy, we're really going to have to pay attention to X player this game because that guy can really hurt us. I mean, like St. Brown is an excellent chain mover and a volume receiver. And I like the fact that he's contributing like he has so far in his career, but like they have no world beaters yet on offense. Like Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to get them first down, but he's not going to beat the opposing team like someone like a Tyreek Hill or Justin Jefferson, will, or Stephon Diggs did to us the last couple of games. Yeah, he's been solid. That's great. But that's what he is. That's his ceiling. He's solid. Like I don't want a solid cornerback to go up against like a CeeDee Lamb or a Justin Jefferson or a Deebo Samuel or somebody in the playoffs. I want an exceptional cornerback to go up and get those guys. And like, you're not going to find them in free agency. You don't have the money to compete with Chicago this year. Chicago this year can spend $50 million more before the next highest team with cap space. And then it's just equal.
Crazy. Yeah.
I mean, think about that. That's $5-10 million a year players that they can just sign before the next team can even like start to compete with them.
Yeah.
You know, like, so we're not going to have an edge there. So where do the Lions have an edge? Tell me what that is. Because like from what I have seen, like the argument, like whether it's in media or here on this podcast or in the chat or wherever, it's an effort. Okay, well, excellent. Like I agree with that.
I think our edges, I think we have two edges that a lot of the teams don't have. Number one, I think our offensive coordinator is a phenomenal scheme guy. He has built schemes very, very well for every single opponent we've had, with the exception of New England. That was the whoa, what happened? You know, welcome to the NFL kind of thing. I think he can scheme for any opponent that we have. Number two, I think the other edge that we have, at least on offense, is we are a very well-balanced offense. Yeah, we don't have a Justin Jefferson, but we're still a top 10 offense with the fact that we don't have a Justin Jefferson. We don't have Patrick Mahomes. We have Goff. We have, Williams and a sometimes injured Swift. But yet we are using those weapons really well. And I use weapons loosely for most of those guys, but we use them really well. And teams are finding it difficult to stop us because of that. So I think that is an edge where you go up against the Bengals and you shut down Jamar Chase, and you know what just happened? They lost. You shut down Justin Jefferson. That's a good portion of what they do. You can't do that with us very well. Even with Amon-Ra St. Brown out when he was hurt, we were still able to move the ball and spread it around really, really well. So I think that's actually an edge that we would have over some of these other teams that have one or two specific people, where if you shut them down, that's a blow to what their entire plan was. But would that be enough to win a Super Bowl? Probably not. I never say never. But like, I mean, to your point, the odds aren't great that even if we make it in and we're on this like 1-8 of our last 10 games run, unless we start blowing everybody out like we did against Jacksonville, which I don't see. Like, yeah, the odds are not great for us to actually win a Super Bowl.
Like, the other thing is, like, I still think this conversation is premature because there's still 5 games left in the NFL.
For sure.
And like, while I think the Packers are not having the season that they wanted to, I think the Packers are capable of beating the Detroit Lions. Like, I think that like the Jets are capable of beating the Detroit Lions. Like, and you said 3 of the last 5 are on the road, right?
Yep. Jets, Carolina, and Green Bay.
So like, I don't think that Carolina is very good at all. But like, sure, the thing that Carolina is going to do now is they're going to try and play good defense and run the ball. And like, there's a scenario where in their home stadium, they show up to play and they're the plucky underdogs that no one really thinks of, that everyone expects to draft high. And they come out and they play stellar defense and they control the clock, and Detroit gets frustrated a little bit and they make a couple penalties, or one of the 2 turnover worthy plays that Jared Goff always throws in a game ends up finally getting caught again, and then, that's the difference, so like, now that's the opposite could happen pretty easily. So like, I think that let's not count the eggs before they the chickens before they hatch, and B, like, the realistic scenarios to catch up and get into the playoffs are that you need to catch up to Dallas, New York, Washington, and Seattle. Which means
Washington, Seattle, and New York. I think Tampa Bay is leading their division right now.
Yeah, so I mean, like the Lions will be ahead of almost everybody else in the South, but the division winner.
Yeah. So the next ones up on the list are Washington at 7-5, Seattle at 7-5, and the Giants at 7-4, and then the Niners at 8-4.
Yeah, so like let's just say
but they're going to be the division winner there, so they're also
right. Someone's going to win that division, right? And so like if it's not San Francisco, it's Seattle, and then like the Lions. So like what are you said? San Francisco's 8-4.
8-4.
So yeah, so the Lions need to win 3 games to tie. So San Francisco going to lose their next 3 games and not lose their playoff spot.
No, I'm there. It's going to be Seattle that won't make it. If we were able to get in, we only have to bump one person out or one team out.
Which team is it?
Probably Washington.
Okay, so what you're saying is Detroit is going to win. What would they have to win? They would have to win 2 more games than Washington in the next 5.
Yeah.
To do that, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to find Washington's schedule. Washington will be playing.
Hey, One Pride showed up. Hey, what's up, One Pride?
What's up, One Pride? Yeah. So they will be playing the New York Giants. So that's also a team that we could leapfrog. The Niners, the Browns, and the Cowboys.
Okay. So
they might. I think they'll beat Cleveland, but there's a good chance they lose to both the Giants, the Niners, and the Cowboys. They may only win 1 more game, but they're good enough where they could probably also beat New York or Niners on any given Sunday too. So
the other thing is that
they could win 1.
If Detroit finishes with the same number of wins as Washington gets in.
Yeah, because of the tie.
Because of the stupid tie. Same thing with New York.
Yeah,
I'm having a hard time seeing it.
Yeah, I don't think both New York and Washington.
No,
because they have to play each other, and
4 teams from one division.
Other.
There's no way that 4 teams from one division are going to get in, right?
No,
just not. I don't remember the last time that happened, but so you'll get the division winners, and you'll get 3 more teams, and like those 3 teams. To me, I think that Detroit's best chance, quote unquote, is they got to win 4 out of the next 5.
Agreed.
And like I understand that like they just did that. So I mean, like, can they do it again? If they win 1 more game, they'll meet what I hope that they would do this year.
Yeah.
To me, I said 6 wins would be proof of progress.
Yeah.
And I'll be happy with 6 wins if they only get 6 wins.
At this point, I'll probably be a little disappointed because I know we can beat more than one of these teams. But going into, just looking back at the season, yeah, I mean, we would hit the 6-win mark. I think we initially guessed between 8 and 9 if all goes well, kind of thing, early on. But that was when we thought the Jets were going to be one of the worst teams in the league, and the Giants.
I thought they wouldn't win any of their first 10 games.
Out of nowhere.
The other thing about this that like I think there's maybe not a great chance, but a better chance now is if Baker Mayfield in week 17 or 18 gets the Rams 1 or 2 wins.
Don't say that.
Then this whole season will look shitty because it'll be like, oh, did we lose out? I mean, like there's a real scenario where it's like, did we lose out on a tie to get into the playoffs? No. And now we're picking 9th because the Rams picked up a trash win when the other team sat their starters because they were already in the playoffs in week 18. Right. Or whatever, and then it's like, okay, now cool. We're picking 20th and 9th and 20th when we could have been picking 3 and 12th. I mean, like, I don't like losing, but I'm willing to put up with it a little bit more if it meant adding some elite talent somewhere and not have to draft a 1st-round linebacker.
Yeah, the Rams have Vegas.
Okay.
potentially winnable, although they're on a streak right now. The Packers in Green Bay, Denver, the Chargers, and Seattle.
So
yeah, winnable games. Denver's a winnable game.
They are so anemic on offense. I saw something that was like Jamison Williams has 14 touchdowns this year, or something to that effect, and so does the Denver Broncos.
Jamal Williams.
Jamal Williams, thank you.
Yeah.
Did I say Jamison Williams?
You did say Jamison.
He doesn't have any touchdowns this year.
He has none. No, he has no catches.
I was hoping that he was going to get his first catch. I was kind of hoping they would put him in.
Pattern, just long bomb kind of thing.
Yeah, I was hoping they would put him in, in the fourth quarter for like a couple of snaps, and just throw him like an in route or something like that. Just like a 2-yard one, boom, here you go, just go down, get your first catch, rook. Kind of a. Yeah, I trust
a little curl.
I trust Brad Holmes and Brad Gnomes as well. I just want him to have as many bullets in the gun as possible when it comes to like taking a shot at this draft, because he has done a good job. Like Crimson was just pointing it out earlier in the chat. Like Brad Holmes has done a good job. Like I want him to have this, like if you've got someone who's doing a good job, make that job even easier.
Yeah.
To me, and it's like, I want to win a playoff game too, but like, I just think that it's probably going to happen in 2024. And like, if we can't get Bryce Young this year, then, like we're going to have to go all in on someone like Caleb Williams or like Drake May next year, or trade for Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. Any update on him? I know he went out hurt.
The only other thing I've seen from him was that he liked one of Dan Campbell's tweets or something like that. See, like, that's just it, Zako. Like, I don't think that we are, because you'd have to have the first pick, right? And which is just a fucking shame, So, like, the only thing that holds out any hope for me at all is that, what is his name? Nick Easterby or Castellero or whatever the GM's name of Houston is. He came from New England.
Yeah.
And New England has a tendency to draft the statuesque, intelligent, can make most of the throws quarterbacks. And that's Stroud. But like, I just don't think that anybody should take immobile. Not that he's athletic. He just doesn't move around at all. He just wants to stand there once the ball gets into his hands. Like, you can't run RPOs with Stroud. Like, you can't work out of structure with Stroud. Like, I just don't want that guy.
Your traditional pocket quarterback.
I don't want one of those anymore. Like, I think the NFL has passed that version of the QB by. And you have to be absolutely like sensational at it to even have a place in the hierarchy. Now, I don't need a Lamar Jackson either. But I would like somebody who is mobile in the pocket, can get a first down with their legs, isn't always looking to run first. I mean, like, people were like, hey, Malik Willis, woo. Like, he can't do anything but run right now.
Yeah.
But, like, I also don't want to have to sit there at, like, pick 9 or pick 20 and be like, oh, shit, Will Levis is still on the board. Ooh, we could take Hendon Hooker. I'm sorry, I don't want a 24 or 25-year-old quarterback. Lamar Jackson is 25. He's going to get a second contract this year. I don't want one of those quarterbacks. Like, I want something like Bryce Young, like, I guess, like, if it's 9 and 20 or something like that, I'd call Houston.
So take both of our firsts.
I mean, at this point, like, fuck it. I mean, like, if it's the difference between, say, picking 9 and 20, and Houston is like, hey, throw in a couple seconds and like 23 or 24 and 25 or whatever, here you go.
Next year's first.
I don't know about 3 1s, but if
you think about it, though, we might be playoff bound next year. That other one might be a 20 or a 24.
That's a good point. Like, you have to weigh, like, if you're going to make a trade of a future pick.
I have many good points.
Well, if you're going to trade a future pick, you kind of have to have an idea of where that pick is going to be, right?
Yeah.
Like this year, a New Orleans Saints pick is more valuable than, say, a Minnesota Vikings pick, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like we will talk more about the draft like in future weeks as the playoff picture and the first round picture kind of gets into some more clarity. But I mean, I don't want a non Bryce Young quarterback. I just don't.
So for the folks that are listening, One Pride and Crimson and Zakwa and everybody in the chat, one of the things that we're planning on doing, we're going to get to it today, that we kind of got off on the playoffs or not, rabbit trail, but we're going to start taking a look at kind of the draft versus sign approach for our different position groups. So I think next week we'll take a look at our cornerbacks, take a look at, all right, well, who do we expect to, drop off the team, who, get cut, not make it? Do we want to draft that replacement? Do we want to sign? All right, let's take a look at the free agent cornerbacks. Who would we sign? Like, how would we do this? So we'll probably do one position group a week as over the last 5-6 weeks of the regular season, and then we can just kind of have a discussion of, all right, draft or sign, free agent or draft pick, and kind of walk through how that might look if we got our wish. So that'll be fun. I'm excited about that. Let us know if that's something that you guys are interested in. If it's not, we'll probably do it but we'll probably make it a shorter segment.
Yeah, a little bit shorter. So, One Pride, Duggan has red hair, so no, can't do it. So, redheaded quarterbacks in the NFL. Has that ever worked?
As many times as Ohio State quarterbacks.
There you go. Proof of point. So proof of concept.
Are you drafting the hair?
I'm scouting the hair.
You're scouting the hair? Yeah.
100% when it's redheads. So they make beautiful women terrible quarterbacks. So because you only say something at the beginning and at the end, Shannon.
Yeah. Speaking of beautiful redheads.
Yeah, there you go. 100%. Catch us every week at Tuesday, 7:00 Eastern. Mike loves it when I say always please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have questions or want to tell us like where we got it wrong, you can always email us at casualgmpodcast@gmail.com and we will discuss them on the air. So thanks, guys. And Shannon.
And tell your friends. Tell them, say subscribe. These guys are cool.
We're 10 subscriptions away from me buying a Lions hat and wearing it forevermore on the podcast. So
10, that's all.
We have plateaued at 40.
We need to fix that. And it's up to you guys.
Sure.
And gals.
Our viewers are dropping like flies. All right, you guys. Have a great rest of your day.
All right, see ya.
Bye.